Can't see.
And we're live.
Live. Hello.
Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. This is We're Not Wrestlers. We're joined by just the specialist of guests, legendary Bussy member
Yeah.
Effie.
Listen. Yeah. The
Hello.
gay myth.
We had a bit of a controversy yesterday with the Bussy name, wherein someone brought their child to meet Bussy, and they said Bussy is for the kids, and people did not know that was our tag team name. So people were very concerned about their parenting. Which to that I say, teach your kids about Bussy. They already have one. We're the other Bussy. Everyone has a butthole. It's a joke. It's a name.
So true.
Yeah.
Math. People say math is the same in every language, but I say
Bussies.
Bussy is the same in
It
every
is.
language.
It's a universal. I mean, even galactic, possibly. We don't know about the other
Yeah.
species, but
Guaranteed.
everybody poops.
It's some kind of Bussy,
Yeah. There's a hole surrounded by cheeks for pushing. It's
And a
every
UF
being.
pussy.
Yeah.
Well said.
US pussy.
Well said.
Oh my god. An unidentified flying bussy.
Yes, it's in
Speaking-
the air.
Speaking of unidentified flying bussies, Effie, you're into Star Wars, right?
I'm very into Star Wars, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm mostly only into Episode 3,
Oh my
which
god.
is tough. Now I've seen them all. I've been obsessed with them all. I was like 9 years old when Episode 1 came out, so it was like made for me. I'm currently not braided, but I have adapted spiritually the Padawan lifestyle after an embarrassing loss to an old man who looked like my dad. I had to go back home and say, look, you think you're a Jedi Master. You're not yet. You need to earn it. I'm a Padawan. I'm a learner. I'm a student again. I want to be the best. And in Star Wars, I can spiritually connect to the fact that as long as this braid is on my head, I don't have to yet claim to be a master. I love Star Wars.
Look at this. We're getting lore here.
Deep lore. Sometimes storylines I do are only for me. And like if you pick up on it, cool. But like I want my last words on my deathbed, or I mean if it's a horrific accident, I won't get the time. But at least
That's on the record
brother. Now. I pop myself, brother. If y'all like it too, cool. But I'm here to pop myself, truly. And that's I think that's how everybody should operate a little bit.
Musically, creatively, if you're not popping yourself, what's the point?
Yeah, it's not art anymore if you're not enjoying what you're creating and outputting.
So true,
I feel like
Bessie.
that is the most obvious version of your use of this philosophy is the fact that you have a shirt that is a photo of yourself from when you weren't a wrestler and
Okay,
you were a teenager.
Let's be clear.
You're making a reference to that is your own backstory.
Now, this was a choice made by a band that at the time was called Forgetting Farrah because I was helping them out on tour and I was a bundle of energy. And there's a guy in California that I've known since high school who has been filming me since 2017 and then has also been filming me with that band since like 2012. So there could end up being like a 10-hour Chronicle documentary where you find out that like the cult of EFFY started long before EFFY came, because I didn't say you have to put my picture on a shirt. That band chose to put me on the shirt, but then I show up to the venue and I'm not in the band, but I'm on the shirt. It's a confusing concept, but it sold really well. So confusing concepts can sell extremely well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody loves to be in on the joke, So by buying the shirt, they're like, I get this.
I get it. I'm here. I know.
Sometimes I go too far
like.
though. Like I sold my hair 2 weeks ago, and I'm about.
You
to
sure
ship it out.
did. You sure did sell that hair.
I think there's a bit of backlash where people go, how could you think so highly of someone to buy their hair? But then there's also the end on the joke, which is like, at what other point are you going to be able to buy this weird dude's hair who fought Jeff Jarrett and Zack Ryder? And the hair was there. So they're in on the joke a little. And when people are spending exorbitant amounts that are supportive of me as an artist in that way, they know. Nobody's like, this hair is worth millions, but they know that they are getting a chance to be in on the EFFY experience with me, and everything's got a little bit of a wink to it. Like, I mean, I'm a caricature of all parts of pro wrestling, and so I'm continually going to deconstruct it and see what's inside the whole thing. And the cult of personality in wrestling is something that we have to completely deconstruct. And if I can make money doing it, then let's go.
Yeah.
And we talk about a lot on the show about how Cardona had like one of the greatest years for a post WWE guy on the independents, and the tables have kind of turned wrestling wise in the past 30 years or so, where the heel made the babyface, you know, and I think in this case the babyface kind of made the heel with Bussy as the babyface is here.
Yes.
So, because I've talked about this a little bit, and like Cardona's first big step in was with Nick Gage, but in a sense, Nick Gage can sometimes be more of a self challenge than an actual match. Like
Sure.
Cardona had to see if he could even survive at that level. But
Right.
once I kind of got in the fold, there was a little more brain game to it. There was a little more let me trick you into yourself and let me kind of take you on a bit more of a journey than necessarily just like, hey, can you survive the bleeding death? And I think he enjoyed a little bit of that. And kind of even when he was on the brunt of being treated like a fool by EFFY, there was a different experience that he sort of got to mesh into the indie world with and sort of see like, because there was the concern on the table, and there's a concern with everyone when they work with me that, oh, someone's going to get canceled for saying something about gay people. Someone's going to get mad. Someone's going to get offended. And then they get through working with me and like, they don't all know that I studied public relations. I know how to walk a line. I know what gets clickbait, but what is too far. And they get through it and they're like, oh, you're like, actually, you're trying to do interesting narrative and you're trying to do things that would make people feel like maybe they're being in a work shoot situation. And I think they enjoy it and they grow from it. And I have found myself not just with Cardona, but with a lot of people where, especially in the last few months, they've had this real hesitation about working with EFFY, and then once they're through it, it's like, oh damn, you're a pro wrestler, and you kind of understand what you're doing. Versus, everybody likes the indie dream match where we all reverse everybody's signatures and do 16 false finishes, and every move under the sun is hit. But when there's a core narrative there that's interesting, that people can explain simply to someone else, why are these two people having a conflict? When there's real motivation behind that, these guys get more excited and they see that, like, hey, the stuff that I was doing on TV that had narrative or had a little more story to it, you can still do that out here and people can still access it. And hopefully they get a little more creative, because there's a lot of those. What's the language here?
Oh,
There's
free reign, baby.
Yeah, there's a lot of dipshits who leave the Fed and they think they can get $5,000 for every show for, the next 12 months. And then they go to one show and they don't draw and they can't do anything interesting and they think they can just highlight reel. And professional wrestling as a fandom is changing, where that one-time pop of this guy was on TV might excite your crowd, but you've got to go out and put in the work once you're out here independent.
Yeah.
And as our own brands, I was on a TV show. Well, everybody was on a TV show. So pick a new trick. And when guys like Cardona come in and fully jump into doing it versus just like, I'll do a match. Here's what I do, kids, stay down, which is the veteran experience we're all used to out here on the indies. It's motivating for us too, because we're sort of validated by saying, hey, we thought we were crazy out here, but we think what we're doing is pretty good. And they come in and go, no, you actually are doing some pretty good stuff. So
absolutely.
Wild answer, but
no, that's perfect. I mean, and his dedication to this story the past year has been so good. And again, it was like the Bussy side of it was such a huge part of it.
And we went. I'm sorry to cut you off, Jordan. I saw you were just talking. Fine. We went from Matt Cardona not wanting to make any contact with a female to like smashing her over the head and trying to kill her and ripping her up. And so there's like layers to the comfort level of people who have been implicitly told about rules in wrestling, and seeing that kind of flush away. And like the core of it is we entertain people with simulated combat. Like that's all it is. We simulate a fight to entertain people. And where we are now, especially on the indies, it's a lot of people just trying to impress someone at the next level, when in reality, the next level isn't always as fun as you thought it would be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything that you're saying, I feel I feel like the way that you cut, you're the best I've seen at doing the knowing in-term wrestling promo that still feels like it fits in wrestling. You do everything where wrestling fans, like if you're doing like a wink and a nod, they get it, but you're also not breaking it like way too much. I feel like the first promo you made to Jeff Jarrett got me so excited that I literally bought. I had never watched GCW. I bought the pay-per-view because of the promo. It's not like we're friends, but I'm not buying all your pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, I get it. Listen,
But
we're all artists. There's a lot of arts to buy up, you know.
there's so much stuff, but I genuinely got really excited. I was like, this is what I want to see. I'm a newer fan. I don't know everything that ever happened in wrestling, but it was enough that really got me excited. You played up the fact that you're like, you are an old, like, this is not the way it works anymore. You know
Right.
exactly how to make everything. You know how to say everything that you actually feel about the business, but make it within the business, which is great. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
And
I don't
I'm
want to go out there and just like crap on the business that pays me money, but I want to point out some of the weird stuff that once you're on the inside you can see. And I also want to be like on a ground level, if you just tuned into that or you were motivated to buy that and you don't know who Jeff Jarrett is and you don't know who Effie is or however you got there, on a surface level, I want you to be able to enjoy the match. But then on a deeper level, like I go to the movies and then I go on Reddit and then I look for more things about the movie and then I look deeper. If you're one of those fans of Effie, I give you the space to go deep and deep and deep. And there are layers to the narrative and the weirdness that go over time and are connected. But if you're just that casual fan that comes in, I want you to have just as much of a fun time. So you've got to balance it, you know, without being so inside baseball like most promos are these days, that you're kind of alienating people who would actually pay to come see you get entertained, which is the purpose of a promo. It's short for promotional. It's supposed to add value to what you're doing. That's a long one.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No, but that was the spark notes of it. It's supposed to add. It's promotional. You're right.
Yeah. How can I motivate a consumer to give a fuck? And that's sort of like the nowadays, not many people give a fuck about much. We're a very apathetic culture. So
Yeah.
There's just
if
too
I
many
can-
things. How can you give a fuck when there's another thing to give a fuck about in an hour? You know,
some days
Right.
I get sad that I can't listen to all the bands that have ever existed. But I've also become apathetic when someone's like, "Do you know this band?" And I'm like, "I don't." It doesn't bother me anymore. But maybe I will. Maybe I won't. But you're right. There's an endless cycle of anything to distract yourself from the endless chasm.
there's a farm of content now, and it is business is a booming.
You gotta put in a lot of work to get people to pay attention to your corner of whatever art you're a part of, because it's easy to create right now. It's how good are you at creating?
Yeah,
Look at
I've always believed the problem with a lot of the indie wrestling isn't necessarily the actual product itself, but it's that we have always had very poor distribution. And the idea of the sort of hierarchy cycle of wrestling that has made sense for so long is you can get more distribution if you appease certain people, but it is completely backwards now. The guys back in the day that would say, "Hey, we're only going to give the fans what they think they want, and we're not going to give them everything, and we're going to keep them coming back." We have TikTok now. I'm entertained in 30 seconds. Everything is boom, boom, boom. You can't rely on long-term, things to keep people coming back. You can't keep dangling a carrot to keep them coming back. And there's no structure for the distribution anymore. So when you can get out in front of people and show your product without the extra elbow rub and without the extra people in between, and you can achieve distribution without bending your knee at all, the product itself, if it is good, should rise up and should show to people. Because people say, "How do I get more, eyes on my content?" It takes people a long time, but if your content at its core is good or motivational or puts people in an entertaining mood over time and over people finding it, you can have somebody get 1 trillion views on a video, but if your next 6 aren't good, none of that ever matters. The continuation of creation will bring that stuff up. I sound like a maniac right now, but what
no,
I'm
you
saying
don't.
is, if you make dumb shit, you can pay people to look at your YouTube all you want. But if it's not good dumb shit, then none of it's real and none of it matters. You have to actually motivate real human beings to participate.
You can't.
Yeah.
Being fake big is a real thing, and I'm
Fake
sure
big is a very real thing, and it's also, just playing to the algorithm is not going to get you what you want either. Like, you can't, mother algorithm, she changes, she evolves all the time.
I fucking hate her, man.
I hate her. She like we're pivoting, we're trying.
We're victims of it in this little show here.
We're in
And
the
this
show
little
right now, victims of it.
Yeah, it's true.
Well,
Everybody is, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, you play into it, and you will, if you focus again, as you said, on the core of your, like, of the quality of what you're making, it's gonna it'll, like, the growth will happen. You are,
yeah.
yeah,
The
and
the outside accessory from that center actual like heart of what your creation is, all the accessory in the world can't dress up, something without any
Do,
deeper emotional pull to it.
yeah,
do you feel, Effie, that like currently in wrestling, with the sheer amount of people in wrestling, that you can't just be a wrestler?
I think historically in wrestling, you should have never ever thought that you could just be a wrestler, because I think of someone like Dean Malenko comes up all the time. This is not a slander to Dean Malenko, but one thing Dean Malenko was really good at was helping other guys look like they were extremely good at wrestling.
Mhm.
And his utility was never to be someone who was going to draw tickets. They were to make sure that the people on the show who were cool or exciting looked really good to everyone. And there are things you can take from someone like that, but
mhm,
letting them know sort of like your accessory to what pro wrestling is, and you are there and you are necessary, but you're kind of a ghost hand. And when these guys come in and want to sort of approach it in a way where they say it's this, it's serious sport, it's that, I think it's very appealing and enticing. But for the most part, if you're just going to be a wrestler impersonating pro wrestling, you're missing the point entirely. And you can go out and do anything you want in the world. For people that come view EFFY or see EFFY, I want them to see this moment where, like, yeah, I'm this thing that agreed to a fight and I'm here in the ring, but I haven't even been motivated to kick your ass yet. Really, if we're first time in the ring, I want to go through it. I don't want to necessarily look like, oh, I'm a pro wrestler and I pro wrestle every day. I want people to feel like there's a little bit of that danger of this and that, where even if for a half second you forget that, oh, it's a pro wrestling show and obviously they work together a little and do this. If you can have that tiny moment of doubt where you forget it's pro wrestling at all, it's worth,
mhm.
all the other BS around it. But the idea of, like, I see guys who are trying to wrestle in a way where they're including all of that, like they're trying to show off that they learned everything at pro wrestling school. When in
Yeah,
reality, like, what you need to do is pick the things that are not featured on the rest of the show. Juxtaposition is a magic weaver in the world of wrestling, and highlight the things that you do the best. Nobody there is going to be like, well, everything was great, but he didn't include any kind of submission or wrist lock. And I'm not sure if he was actually lining up that Texas Cloverleaf correctly. If you're doing all these extra things because you feel like you have to show the world that you are a competent wrestler, like, go tell yourself first and then be an actual performer who is there to do the job of entertaining people, versus I need everyone to know how good I am at
Oh,
pro wrestling, which I have created as an imitation of pro wrestling, instead of as, here we are having a fight, here's a fight, these two people are going to
yeah,
fight. And they go, wait, I thought they were working together. And you go, I don't know, you tell me. Does it look like they're working together? And then, I get nutted on a guardrail and it looks really horrendous. And you go, I don't know. Maybe the other stuff they had talked about, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't want to agree to nut on a guardrail. But there's
we're
weird
just,
cats out there.
I mean, we're just so far beyond, like, with indie wrestling, it's not something you can keep up with week to week. Generally, it's not like a dedicated TV program, so the story has to be told within this singular match every time. And like, drop down tackle leapfrog doesn't do anything for anyone anymore.
No,
Like, it's not, I'm not, I there's no story I can comprehend from that. And like, again,
it's
just the oversaturation that there is. It's like story first, wrestling third.
Yeah. And
yeah,
also, once you're out there, I think what people forget is like, okay, it's acting, right? We're actors technically. What we do is supposedly improvisational physical theater. It is
yeah,
supposed to move and groove with a room. I can't go out here and Memphis style some Shakespeare shit. I can't look at you and go, hey, baby, if they turn on us in the back half, I'm going to riff the Hamlet I would Hamlet. It doesn't work that way. But in wrestling, I could have thought I knew what I was going into. I could have thought I understood what I was going into. And if the room shifts, as performers and artists and actors, we are expected to move with the room and feel the room and move them towards entertainment. The end of the match shouldn't be that, well, we did still hit those 3 power bombs that we wanted to do on someone. It should be, we entertained the people and got there. And if it skips over portions, or you add portions, or you change exactly what you're doing, or the dynamic of who is loved and who is hated is shifted, if you're not willing to move with that, you're just impersonating a pro wrestler. And the thing is, it's rewarded at that TV level. What people don't realize, and I think why a lot of people end up running away or quitting, and I think it's shifting somewhat with some of the newer companies, you are hired because you have skill and proficiency in the moves and tactics of professional wrestling. You are now going to be told what to do to fill that for someone else because you're good at it. Wherein when we're out here, I'm going, hey, what's the best way we can do this story tonight? And I'm not bound to the advertisers here. I'm not bound to telling someone else's story. And in my head, I get to go in, even if it's a 6, 7, 8 minute match, and I'm the main event of my story and of my show. And that sounds really egotistical, but it allows me to, I go to bed really easily at night. I fall right asleep. I don't worry about if I've gotten my art out of my system, if I've put my whole self forth, if I've gotten ideas out, because I'm not limited by someone saying, well, no, we only want you to do a suplex. You need to do just one suplex for 52 weeks a year. And that's the only thing you do. And please be here by 10 a.m. Of course, it's mind bending to people who got into this because they love wrestling and got into it because they want to express themselves in this full body art form. It's a different job. And when people would realize that, like, it's not, oh, you got your TV check. Cool. Are you complete in how you feel as a person, a performer, and entertainer? And if you're a person who says, yeah, I'm just good at suplexes, I really don't give a shit what kind of suplexes I'm doing, or if I'm wearing a spaceman costume, awesome. There's money to be made doing that. But if it's going to get in the back of your head that you say, well, why don't we try this? And they say, that's not what we said. You're better fit to go out here and hustle, grustle with us. I'm always working. I'm never working. And it's exhausting and very well resting sometimes.
So are you, I guess the question is, like, is this the final form of what you want to be doing? Like this like the way that you are interacting with the indies, or do you have a larger plan for
There's a
what
much bigger plan.
Yeah.
Jordan, I'm glad you asked. I can't legally, this is why I've been in a really weird bind. Like, I'm in a weird spot of patience and waiting. I think the best way to put it is, everybody knows what Dwayne did, right? The Rock.
Yeah.
Dwayne went and got popular in wrestling, and then he took his ball and he went and got really popular in Hollywood. He transferred those skills. I want to do a reverse Dwayne. I want to get out and be a cultural figure outside of the world of wrestling. I want to get in front of people's screens in different ways. And then I want to bring them back to what I'm doing. I want it to be confusing that you can still go see EFFY perform live when you just saw him on a streaming service, or when you just saw him on some show. I want you to not understand the motivation of why I would continue to be a live theater actor where I'm getting my ass kicked while I'm making money or doing other things here. Because at its core, if we bring people back to wrestling, even at its peak, it was a niche art form. But what I've found is, when people come to live wrestling, a lot of times they come back. A lot of times they include it in the rest of their year. They include it in their entertainment because it's something very different to the world we've had now. And especially during a pandemic and coming out of this, where I have seen people not only just feel relief and feel excitement, to be in a place where you can yell and scream and be around humans and you don't really know what's going to happen. We haven't had a lot of those moments in the last few years where we've sort of been stuck inside and quiet. I mean, think in your head, there's millions of Americans in the last year. How many of them have not just screamed? And do you know how good it would be if they just went outside and yelled? And you can come do that for 3 hours. You will leave a wrestling show feeling like a lightened human being just by coming and yelling and getting it out of your system. And I think if we can bring people that sort of energy that doesn't require them to have 30 years of knowledge of wrestling, or require them to know who bought WCW or who didn't, there is a joy there that I think everyone has to feel. And like, it sounds really cheesy and good guy, but like, I would like more people to understand wrestling, and I would like more people to come into wrestling and enjoy wrestling that don't subscribe to the old school ways or don't subscribe to the old rules. Because your way works if you're limiting your audience, but my way works if we expand to people who are out in the world and haven't dedicated their entire lives to this so far. It's fine if you have, but it should be an option of, hey, do you want to go to a theater show? Hey, you want to go see a little wrestling? Hey, you want to go to the movies? It should be an easy choice. And I think there's someone there for everyone, even if you're just coming to make fun of, how wild we get when we watch wrestling. That's
Right.
entertaining.
I mean, you just described Jordan's situation there. You know, like how he got into wrestling.
That's exactly what happened. As you know, like I got into wrestling through working with the Nobodies.
Mm-hmm.
I went to RuPaul's Drag Race viewing parties. They also watched wrestling. I watched wrestling with them. I eventually got into it. That's why I think when people with most people who don't watch wrestling, they are probably wrestling skeptics. They're not into it. So in my mind, I'm like, the first thing you show to a person who doesn't watch wrestling is not like CM Punk or Daniel Bryan. Like they won't get it. Like it's not that you show them somebody like you or an Orange Cassidy. Like Orange Cassidy is a character that is like an apprehensive wrestler. Like and it's a perfect
Yeah,
audience.
and if you're a person right now who's already apathetic about stuff and who's already turning on TV wrestling going, I bet I can point out where it's fake, because historically,
Yeah,
people who've seen wrestling on TV, they're going to go, oh, I heard it's fake. And then you go, oh, look at that, look at that. But when you come into more of a chaotic situation, and especially if you can get there live, there's such a difference to where even if you notice something, oh, maybe he didn't hit him all the way there, I guarantee that there will be something that will snap you in and go, oh, hold up. What do they do? Y'all do this all the time? This is
yeah,
crazy what I'm seeing. I mean, I think about Nick Gage appearing on a Dynamite audience,
That was so awesome.
in front of those people and having the blood and having this. The people who want to tune in and say wrestling's fake, all of a sudden they see Chris Jericho bleeding all over the ground and there's light tubes and pizza cutters. I'm not saying every match needs the blood level, but there was at least probably a concern from a casual viewer of like, I don't think this is going according to plan. And
right.
that's the feeling that keeps you coming back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My wife is like 0% a wrestling person, but like she's been watching Dynamite with me lately. And it started as like, wait, was that real? And now she like hates when she thinks it's real. She's like
She's
like
very concerned.
she's not into it. At first like the women were kind of what got her in. And now like during like the dog collar match or like Britt and Thunder Rosa the other day when they were bleeding, she's like, I don't like this. This is like,
It's
are
too
they
much.
okay?
It's too
Are they
far.
okay? Like, are they friends after this? Like, how do they? Is there a doctor nearby?
They're grossed out, but the intrigue is there.
Oh,
And it
big
makes
time.
you like you've wrestled you've done like no ring bar wrestling matches all the time in
Oh,
Brooklyn,
yeah.
and I have not gone to a single one of them because gross, but like I am not intrigued. I do know every time that one of those things is happening, even though that's not the wrestling for me. It 100% is part of the reason that people will pay attention to it.
Yeah, and also there's like I like when wrestling has boundaries on it. Like people are like, I'd never do a no ring, I'd never do a death match, I'd never do this. When you put yourself in a situation where the rules are different and you give yourself sort of a different assignment, like there's a self reward for being able to go like, oh, my skills can translate to all these different things, all these different environments, all these different types of wrestling. And whether I'm just like on the floor of a bar and playing with chairs and tubes, or I'm in a ring with someone and trying to, I'm finding Pimpinella Escarlata at my Big Gay Brunch show,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna have to bust out some of my cool lucha stuff. We're gonna have to go to that place. I want Effie to be able to fall into any situation, and people leave and they're like, "Oh, wrestling's pretty weird and different than I thought." And if that's in those dirty bar scenes, you're going to get people there who are not. They're not going out to the House of Glory or Ring of Honor or Impact tapings because
No.
they know the best of the best are there. They're just like, I don't know. These dudes are going to fight on the floor in Brooklyn. We should go look at this. And then they go, wait, you do this all the time? And I go, all the time and everywhere. And they're kind of open to a world that, like, if you had just been like, do you want to go watch some pro wrestling with me? They'd be like, no, that sounds lame. I'm going to go to the bar and drink. But if you can bring it to them and still have what I believe is like the core of pro wrestling in it, then we've expanded and we've grown. So I want to be able to do it anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
I'm trying.
No, do or do not. There is no try.
Oh, that's
Ah.
well, then I am doing. I am
Star Trek.
fully doing.
There you go.
We are doing our 4th LGBTQ wrestling show this April 2nd.
Tell us about it.
4 of them now. Insane. One
The big
canceled,
gay
four
brunch, baby.
completed. The big gay brunch. Here's the thing that I'm worried about. The shows are only 2.5 hours long, and there are so many more LGBTQ people coming into wrestling, and so many more people I want to feature, and so many more events I want to do. But like I've been told I need to sleep some. So we're gonna do more events not around Mania weekends and not around bigger shows this year, because I just want to make sure we give everybody who's doing cool stuff a platform, you know?
Yeah.
Also, other gay people do some wrestling shows too. We need more of them. Shout out Billy Dixon.
Agreed.
I
I
love,
mean
yeah, drags and
that's
drop kicks. There needs to be more outside of just New York and stuff.
Yeah, and it's there's those people are everywhere, and you kind of find out. Somebody asked me, I was in Detroit, and I met a guy outside the airport, and he was like, we started talking, and he said, "Well, how would you advertise gay wrestling?" And I was like, "Well, you tell them they won't be harassed, accosted, or assaulted, and they can come hang out." There are a ton of people from our community that have always loved wrestling. They've always enjoyed wrestling. They have stayed from a distance. They watch from afar. I've talked to people who've said, "Oh, I've been a fan of WWF for 20, 30 years, but I never felt comfortable going to a show because I am different, or because I am, I don't feel like I fit in here." And so
Right.
now that people can come out and you can have the acceptance and tolerance and reverence towards the steps in progress, but also the be as wild as you want. This is a party. We accept you for who you are. It's a whole different crowd coming into wrestling, and it's a whole different vibe. And as wrestling sort of drifts from what we expected it to be, from what TV, if you watch wrestling on TV, it's looked exactly the same from every company for 40 years. You're coming into something completely different, and you're going, I thought I knew what wrestling was. And there's a spice to it that you're not going to get anywhere else. And I mean, where else can I have a tag team called Bussy that's a man and a woman just being as gay as possible?
speaking of which, can my beloved Alley Catch, can you tell me a little bit about how your relationship formed, how Bussy became whole,
Yeah. How
So
it happened?
how Bussy became whole?
I have known Miss Alley Catch for a long time through other people, and we had been on shows together. And we hung out, we were fine, but we weren't like chilling all the time. And when that pandemic hit, one of the first matches I did was against her in Indianapolis, and we did the match. It was fine, great match. I think I tried to play heel and say that I was going to put her through the closet doors because she was a baby gay pansexual now. But we got to the end, and Brett was like, "Nah, you guys are a tag team." I was like, "Okay, but that's not going to get booked everywhere. Like, we're a tag team in the sense that, like, if you book us to be a tag team, we're a tag team. But like, yeah, it doesn't feel like something we can lean on." And I said, "Well, then if we're going to do it, it's going to be absurd." And I'm thinking at the time, she's a cat, Alley Cat. She's not a cat anymore, but the name stays.
God damn
And
right.
a slang term for a cat would be a pussy cat, right? So she can be the pussy portion. And I'm as gay as a fucking biscuit. And if people want to say I'm just a gay gimmick, then good. They have only seen my Twitter and they don't watch my matches. One day they'll love me even more. I like people who are like, I don't like EFFY. And it's like, what do you know about him? Not much, except for he's just too gay. And go, all right, you're going to love this kid when you go back.
Yeah.
I'm figuring I'm gay. She's a pussy cat. What's a gay pussy? Well, it would be a butt pussy because everybody has a butt pussy. So why not call our tag team Butt Pussy? And it took a while for Brett to even put it on the posters or announce it. I think he was calling us Effie and Alley Catch for a while, but it sort of gave us this fuck you towards like what the standards of wrestling were, because all the people wanted to see Alley and Effie unleashed as Bussy and be wild, but everybody else was like, what are they going to think of us? They're going to think we're using bad words. We don't even know what it means. And I remember a time in New Jersey where we were tagging maybe with Everett Connors, and I looked around and everybody was chanting Bussy in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Insane.
And I just like kind of started smiling because I was like, this little gay boy would have never imagined that the hardcore deathmatch people would be chanting your butt pussy in front of people. But there's an authenticity to us that's sort of like, you feel that we're having fun. You see that we enjoy it. We take our wrestling seriously when we are wrestling. But the other bullshit around wrestling, we've gotten no's before. We've gotten people treating us like crap. We've gotten people talking about us. We sort of take the power of that as like a little armor. And it's like, yeah, we have an offensive name. We're a man and a woman. You don't think you can do anything with us, but your audience is demanding it. You need the pussy, and you're going to bend to make it happen, because at the end of the day, capitalism is still the name of the game in wrestling, and I'll fuck them over with capitalism because the fans deserve what they want, and they want Bussy. The only way this industry changes.
Everybody wants Bussy.
Exactly. They all want Bussy. Your other Bussy is a tag team, and I'm half of the team right here.
Is that a bumper sticker yet?
It should be. My
Your
God.
other Bussy is a
Come on.
tag team. Is
Print.
so
Go ahead
good.
and print some money
Make
and get
the
that
sticker.
Yeah, and people say, "Oh, you can't do that in wrestling. You can't do that in wrestling." You can do anything in wrestling because it is motivated by ticket and stream revenue and people wanting to participate. And so when I look back at like times when wrestling is kind of racist as shit or misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, you almost have to pull away the emotion of how hateful those things are and say, these dipshits were trying to reflect current cultural values, which were the current cultural value across most of the US for people who had the money to spend and the voices to do what they could. As that shifts, let's fuck them on the rear end with it, and let's make them follow the ticket sales, follow the people, follow the fans, follow the money by creating something that is inclusive, that is forcing them to confront their homophobia, that is forcing them to confront their gender defined rules of what wrestling can be. We're going to hold them hostage by making them come with us because we are going to make more money than them, and they will have to follow suit. You can't do it by saying, here's how you have to do it. You do it by going, oh no, we're doing this and it's working really well, but have fun. And they go, what are they doing? And they go, I don't know, but they made this much money. And then shit shifts. So
we need ourselves
without
a
ever doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's has drawn me to the EFFY character, to the Alley Catch, to the Bussy. I'm a Bussy magnet at this point.
I love it.
We're trying to like join, but like I was hitting you up to try to write a Bussy theme song.
I'm just such a piece of shit.
No, we'll just do it. Don't even worry about it.
I know, but here's the thing. Like I
know you have music, but I'm trying to
have music, but the bigger picture is that as long as I can be DMCA slapped down for the music I use as a professional wrestler, I'm a fucking outlaw, and you are forced to acknowledge me if you want me to stop doing it. So I am sort of doing everything as a poke of the bubble, and I haven't gotten the poke I wanted back yet, and I'm going to keep doing it. They tell you, get a custom. You know how many guys show up with custom theme songs? And I'm not saying you guys would make this. You're real musicians. You have power and skill. But the amount of dipshits on the indies with the worst fucking Kurt Angle, shitty guitar, whatever ripoffs, who are like, yeah, but I can play it on TV and I can play it with the rights. It's like, oh, yeah, you're going to ask for permission for your moves too? We're wrestlers. We're outlaws. Dick Murdoch used to drink on the road and throw beers. I'm not saying to be unsafe, but we should have a little edge of outlaw to us.
Agreed.
I do have a pending felony for edible possession, so
cool.
I am a fucking outlaw.
I really personally, speaking of which, I really don't like to hear about modern wrestlers being like not confrontational.
Oh, they're all just like, there's two types of wrestlers. Guys who, not guys, but people who've been in fights and people who are learning how to simulate them. It's surprising to not many. I run my fucking mouth and have for a long time. I know how to take the hits. I am allowed to talk so much shit because y'all have seen me get hit in the fucking face. And you haven't maybe seen this, but I've gotten hit in the face for real plenty of times. Yeah. Plenty of times. There is a cockiness to being able to know you can take a punch to the face. And a lot of wrestling is kind of trying to imitate that cockiness. But if we could gain a little self-awareness, when you're pretending to be cool, we all know you're pretending, even if we're not cool. But when you are yourself and true and there and just saying like, look at it, this is what it is, love it or hate it, there's a coolness to that, even if it's not cool, because it's all about the attitude that you're holding. And so the attitude of a pro wrestler should be like, hey, I'm here, I'll kick your ass if you don't like it. If you do like it, of course, I'm a stud. And not, well, oh, I gotta try to be the person that they need me to be for pro wrestling.
I'm here because I can kick your ass. That's why I'm in this ring. That's what I want to believe.
Right. Yeah, and I think this is the big, oh God, he's out of his mind. I fucking hate Hulk Hogan. I hate him.
Of course.
But everybody was scared to piss off Hulk Hogan. Everybody was scared to make Hulkster mad because Hulkster recognized the value in his skill. Now, we are not all at a Hulk Hogan level. We're not all of that world, and we should not take advantage of people. We should not treat people poorly. But they should know that if we don't show up, if the people who sell tickets don't show up, all the accessory falls around it. And I see a lot of promoters out there who book me, who pay me, who don't argue with me, who treat my friends and coworkers like absolute dog shit because they have allowed it for the most part. We have
Mhm.
to start valuing the wrestler at a higher level because the guy writing things down, the guy filming the show, unfortunately, literally everybody who's not a wrestler is accessory to the main core of this. And really, like, you should thank me when I walk through the door rather than me thanking you for putting me on a show. You should thank me for allowing someone to share a hotel room with me versus me having to beg to not have to stay at some guy named Greg's house because the finances are tight. I think we have to have that shift, and I hope that I can be at least a partial powerful voice in that, because not everybody should have to have the gumption to go be an asshole and make the demands, but we have to start making some demands because the money is not where it should be. The respect is not where it should be. And there are too many guys and girls who do not bump at all, who make more than the wrestlers who sacrifice their necks and backs and asses and legs every night. And we are so nervous of being taken away from wrestling by people who pretend to have power but don't really have power that we don't like to speak up or complain when things are bad. Historically, I've said this many times and I'll say it again. I have no one leashing me in. I have no one telling me what to do. The worst thing that could happen is you don't want to book me. Someone else will, when we're not treated well and when we're not put in the right position to perform at our highest level. And especially in the case of female performers, gender non-binary performers, people of sexual minorities and gender minorities, they should not have to go up and tell a cishet white man who thinks he has power their demands. These things should be set in stone early. And if it means Effie needs to go, break some jaws and fuck people up and wreck some shows and cancel some promotions, then we will do it. But I would like them to do it the nice way and work towards reversing and saying, we are allowed to make a living through wrestling because of the wrestlers, and we should show them the utmost thanks, gratitude financially through the way we act, through the way we treat them, through how they are given in a backstage area, even. These are, it sounds like I'm starting a union here, but I'm not. I'm starting a club where
It kind
I literally, Effie beats your ass if you try to treat people
of
poorly who do more in wrestling than you do. And by that, I mean who wrestle.
is this like a I don't when people say the territories or whatever, like I don't know what that means for the most part, but it sounds like you want to do a revamped semi unionized version where it's the wrestlers travel everywhere and they're the famous part, not the promotion, right? Is that
A
what
little bit. I
will
think,
work?
even just to start, I think a barely set standard of like, here's the things we can kind of guarantee for you to get, or here's the things that come with the booking. And obviously, everyone is at different levels, everyone is at different places. But the things where, we sort of promise the spots to people who will set up the ring for 8 months and sort of drag people along with a carrot and do this, there should be an easier way to identify how to get into another level or how to show your skills off.
Right.
I don't know what the answer is yet. I'm still braining, but I'm as
Well,
motivated as I've ever been,
um,
and they're gonna have to kill me.
love that. Music, especially hardcore music over time.
I wanted to bring this up. Yeah.
Every mom and like every little band now has an agent of some kind. Like it's cool to be DIY and book your own tours and shit, but then you miss out on these nuances and everybody fucks you at some point. So maybe, I don't know, maybe indie wrestlers all need a booking agent at this point.
Yeah, or at least like someone who can look at what your offers are, look at contracts. Even beyond the indie wrestling, I've seen a lot of different contracts from different places and different companies. And if you're 18 and you've never had a job, if you are just starting in this business and it's your whole dream, you're probably going to be given different terms than someone who has run a business or is an adult or has an understanding. And a lot of these kids don't even know you can literally cross things out of contracts and send them back. You can change wording in contracts. The contract is an agreement that's agreed upon by both parties. So I want at least someone who has the knowledge to be a resource. And I hope I've been a resource to people. And my DMs are always open. And I don't know everything, but I ran a business in the outside world. I've toured with some bands. I have done things outside of wrestling where I have these skills and these things where when cats come to me and want to book me, I don't I've been bullshitted by everyone, so I see right through bullshit. But if you're a wide-eyed kid with a lot of skill who wants to do something, and this person wants you because they can make money off of you with tickets because of something you've done, there should be someone you can at least say, like, hey, does this seem right to you? Look at that shitty video game coming out. Every dipshit and their mom was announced for it. It's the indie game. It's so incredible. All they've done is announce assholes who they probably paid money to, and then anyone else that they put on there of no caliber or no download value or money value. Their contracts literally say that they don't have to pay them if they don't think they promoted it enough, or if it doesn't make a profit, or if it never gets made at all. So sometimes when we rose-colored glasses these ideals of wrestling, of a WrestleMania moment. Well, Drew Galloway's was in a fucking warehouse in Orlando. Being in a video game. Well, you didn't get paid and no one ever actually made the game, but I guess you held a contract. Oh, I got a toy made. Well, it's $45 retail and you're the only one who can actually buy it or afford it or gives a shit.
Yeah.
Stop looking at what previous wrestling goals were and start looking at being a paid performer and professional entertainer. And the things that we are looking at with these glasses for the past nostalgia of what validates you as a professional wrestler or sports entertainer, we can set new values of that. We can set new values of what those standards are. And maybe it's, oh man, as a wrestler, I had over 30% profitability for the year. That'd be incredible for a pro wrestler.
Right.
I could go on all day about it. I know we got deep here, but it's,
I'm
passionate about it. And,
shows.
I've always said I would happily sign a contract if someone understood wrestling better than me and offered it to me. And unfortunately, they haven't. And some people will go, well, Effie, you don't understand wrestling at all. Come to a show. I will show you what wrestling is. It's when people react to what's going on, and they always react.
Beautifully said.
I tried.
Yeah.
I loved it. Could you say it again?
If they're not reacting to what you're doing, you're not good at it.
There it
no
is.
matter how proficient you are. Proficiency is necessary, but not interesting.
A brain in the game, first and foremost, is what you need.
I want them scared. I want them nervous that Effie will come around and find out that they're doing something I don't like.
We also, listen, we've talked like, we need fear to come back to some legitimacy of art, not by like gatekeeping or whatever, but it's so that things can be treated properly. I think that people forget that sometimes the fear is a good thing, because there's an incident with a hardcore band a couple of weeks ago. People were freaking out that a hardcore band got in a fight with the promoter or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, how could the hardcore band do that?" It's like,
think about being a teenager. When I heard shit like that, I was like, I have to know everything about it.
I gotta go to the show. I gotta go to the next.
Here's another incident that I think should come up. We had a show the other day that I was not on with GCW, and someone was yelling really shitty stuff at the women's wrestlers. And within about 5 minutes, I know Manders was out there, and I know another wrestler was out there, and they were in this dude's face and giving him something to be concerned with. A lot of people have never felt consequence, and they only feel heard by being negative or rowdy or terrible. And when you can give someone a little bit of consequence, you also give everyone else a little bit of a show. So
totally.
It's a good time.
Everybody loves that shit. It brings people together. I know you had a heart out, Effie.
I do. I have a wrestling show to host that I do every Monday. Monday Not Raw, because I like watching wrestlings on Monday, but God, that other show sucks so bad.
I can't imagine like shifting your life around to be like, I gotta get home for fucking Raw. I gotta see.
Oh my God. But I get home every week for Monday Not Raw. Well, I missed a week the other day and I felt bad about it, but I also got arrested. So we're doing it.
That's pretty raw.
It was raw. It felt raw.
All right. Well, have a great stream. If you're watching this, you should tune into Monday Night Raw on Effie's Twitch channel.
Monday Night Raw. Watch wrestling that isn't Raw with Effie.
We are doing all intergender matches tonight, which intergender shouldn't even be a term, but if they're going to use the term, we'll use the term. It's people fighting. It's performers wrestling. Fighting.
People fighting, my favorite genre. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a blast.
Hell yeah.